Howdy y'all, and welcome to Old Tucson's Western Tale. Today on Western Tales we are going to read Dust Devil by Ann Isaacs, illustrated by Paul O. Zielinski.
Notice, what you're about to read is a genuine Montana story. On this earth only one thing is as reliable as a Montana story, and, well, that's a Montana fence post. Either of them may lean a little, but they seldom flat out lie. Unless you've read a book called Swamp Angel, you may not know about Angelica Longrider, or how she got the nickname Swamp Angel and a reputation as the wildest wildcat in Tennessee. The way that book ends up is this. When Swamp Angel grew too big for Tennessee, she moved west to Montana, a country so sizable that even Angel could fit in. And back in 1831, Montana was nearly perfect. Still, Angel had to make a few adjustments. To start with, the sun woke her 3 hours earlier than it had in Tennessee. Angel looked out her window trying to figure it out. To the east, the land was flatter than a fry pan. To the north, it was flatter than a flapjack in a fry pan. To the south, it was flatter than butter melting on a flapjack in a fry pan. And it didn't take long to see what was missing. Shade! She began to feel so homesick for Tennessee, where trees grow so thick the deer have to take off their antlers to get through the forest. With all that shade, the sun couldn't wake a body until she was good and ready. Then Angel looked west, where the Rocky Mountains stuck up halfway to the moon. "A ripe crop of shadows if I ever seen one," says Angel. She reached out, plucked the highest mountain from the pack, and planted it east of her ranch, right where the sun was rising. Fast as a blink, the sun disappeared and didn't rise again for 3 hours. Pretty soon all her neighbors wanted a mountain, so Angel grabbed an armful and planted mountains one by one on the prairie. "That's a beaut," she'd say every time she set one down. And to this day, every stand-alone peak in Montana is called a butte. When Angel began to farm, she soon learned that Montana soil is rich enough to open its own bank. A seed planted at daybreak could be dangerous to bystanders before noon. One morning, 3 cows wandered into Angel's cornfield at planting time. Some seedlings shot up and rocketed to the sky, taking the cows along for the ride. They weren't seen again until fall, when the stalks withered and lowered the cows back to earth. The cows were none the worse for the trip, and the arrangement had its advantages, too. That whole summer it rained milk by the bucket. But Angel's biggest problem was getting a horse. Oh, there were plenty of horses in Montana, but she could not find one powerful enough to carry her, until the summer of 1835, when the dust storm hit. It was the worst storm anyone had ever seen, while the wind tore across Montana faster than a baby ripping a newspaper. The sky got so full of dust that it stayed dark day and night. Folks couldn't tell whether to wake up or go to sleep, so they wore their pajamas all the time. Fields and orchards were stripped bare. With winter coming on, settlers were getting desperate. Aunt Essie Bale, Angel's neighbor, baked endless platters of sourdough biscuits for those in need. Unfortunately, so much dust got into the batter that Aunt Essie's biscuits were hard as horseshoes and just about as tasty. When the dust storm reached Angel's ranch, the wind shrieked like 1,000 trumpets playing out of tune. The barn began to shake, the ground to quake, the windows to break, the animals to wake, and everyone's ears to ache. In the middle of the commotion, Angel thought she heard a sound like hooves pounding. Then the gale blew off the barn roof and began to suck apples, oats, and hay from their bins. Angel got suspicious. "Dust Devil, it's time to quit horsing around," she hollered, and without another word she sprang right onto the back of the whirlwind. The storm roared and bellowed, tossing buckets, goats, and pitchforks in every direction, and tried to throw Angel off. Up into the sky she rode that bucking blast, latching on for all she was worth. "That's the best you can do, Blowhard?" Angel shouted into the gale. "Why, I've seen tumbleweeds bounce higher." Wherever they touched ground, Angel dug her heels in, trying to slow the tempest down. Her feet scraped out a long, winding ditch as they zigzagged across the land. Nowadays, folks call it the Grand Canyon. He rode the howling storm for 2 days and 2 nights. On the 3rd day it began to rain. As the dust washed away, the black clouds faded to gray, then white, and finally cleared. And there, in the middle of the whirlwind, was a giant horse, bucking and wheeling and neighing like fury. Every time he struck his hooves together, bolts of lightning shot out. Angel rode the horse all the way to the ground. By then, he had no more bucking in than a baby. The minute he lay down, the wind dropped and the sun shined for the first time in weeks. "You'd make a fine sidekick," says Angel. "I'll call you Dust Devil, and from now on we'll ride together. I reckon I finally found a horse that can carry me." And just in time, for soon after, backward Bart and his flying desperados busted through Montana as fast as bad news, robbing and terrorizing everyone in their path. His proud parents claimed that Bart was half rattlesnake, half badger, and half mad hornet, and they weren't just a bragging. Even for Montana, Bart was big. His hands were the size of shovels, and when he walked, his toes were always in a different county from his heels. No one knew how much he weighed, but one day his shadow fell across Doctor's scale and tipped the needle past 2,000 pounds. His gang was the sorriest lot ever slouched into town. Besides Bart, there was Bad Guy Hopkins, Missouri Jerk, Lovely Poe, Lawless Sam Diego, and the Stanford twins, by guess and by golly. Talk about mean! They were pricklier than porcupines in a cactus patch. Bart and the desperados were too ornery for any self-respecting horse to carry, so they rode mosquitoes. Now you may wonder at this, but it's a fact sworn by everyone except newborns and Texans that mosquitoes grow bigger in Montana than anywhere else. A Montana mosquito can carry a heavy suitcase and 2 watermelons on each wing without sweating. The desperados' mosquitoes measured 10 feet from mouth to tail, with stingers as long as swords. Bart's biting bandits could travel faster than a man on horseback, and a lot higher. Bart's only problem was he couldn't do anything forwards. You see, whenever his mother had wheeled baby Bart in his buggy, townsfolk fled at the sight. So the mayor issued a proclamation that Bart was never again to show his face in public. From then on, his mother set Bart backwards in the buggy. He got so used to it that when he grew, he did everything, walking, talking, or flying, backwards. Since he couldn't see where he was going, Bart sometimes landed in a manure heap or a pickle barrel. No one laughed at him. No one dared. "Cashier, gimme!" Backward Bart always shouted as he flew backwards into a farmer's yard, and no one waited for him to say please. Bart's snarling sidekicks would hover around the farmer, aiming their swords at a tender spot on his backside. "Up, hurry!" Bart would shout, while the farmer emptied his piggy bank as fast as rain. Then the desperados would spur their mosquitoes and fly off calling, "Yip, giddy!" When Swamp Angel heard about Bart, she mounted Dust Devil and paid a visit to Sheriff Naplot up in Billings. She found him snoring in the single-starred, double-barred, triple-guard jail. "I'm here to help you catch the flying desperados," said Angel. "I'm much obliged, Angel, but you can't do that," drawled the sheriff. "Only a member of my posse can hunt down outlaws, and the posse is already done to get 'em." "Then deputize me quick." Well, dang it, Angel. To be deputized, you have to be a man. It's the law. Tell me this then. Is there a law that says a woman can't catch a mosquito? Well, I don't reckon. Set the table, Sheriff. You'll have company for dinner, Angel called as she rode off to find backward Bart. A few miles out of Billings, Angels discovered Sheriff Napalot's posse unable to sit on their saddles. Seems they'd insulted the desperados and got a stinging reply. Angel chased Bart for a week, but everywhere she went, she arrived a day late. So Angel stepped up on a mountain top to get a better view. It wasn't hard to figure out where Bart had been by the trail of broken piggy banks. East to west, that's how he's doing it, she declared. Looks like Aunt Essie Bell's farm is next. Won't you stay and have a biscuit? Aunt Essie greeted Angel when she rode up. I'll save 'em for supper, says Angel, and she put the biscuits in her pocket. Bart's coming, Essie. Grab your gold and hide. Haven't got any gold except the fillings in my teeth, says Essie. Then grab your teeth and hide, says Angel. Essie didn't wait to hear it twice. She raced to her storm cellar and locked the door just as backward Bart sailed into her yard and landed in the pig's trough. Pee-yip! He shouted, splashing happily in wormy oatmeal and rotten eggs. As the desperados landed beside him, he prompted them. Best the who's. Best is Bart backward, they chanted, but they didn't look cheerful as they scraped moldy gravy from their beards. Varmints, give back the gold you've stolen or prepare to fight, says Angel. Huh? Says Bart. Fight to prepare or stolen. You've gold the back give, varmints, Angel shouted. This time Bart understood. Angel jumped on Dust Devil, who whirled up a storm and struck his hooves together, forging spears of lightning for Angel. Faster than you could say stinking stingers, the dripping desperados mounted their mosquitoes. Angel hurled lightning while they attacked from every direction. Dust Devil blasted hot air from his nostrils with such a force that he snorted the desperados halfway to Kansas. But the gale nearly blew Angel off, and she grabbed for the reins. She dropped her bolts of lightning. At once the desperados moved in and aimed their mosquitoes. It didn't look good for Angel up in that thicket of thorny thieves. Then Swamp Angel remembered Aunt Essie's biscuits. She reached in her pocket and began to pelt the desperados. To her surprise, the men dove for the rock-hard biscuits and gobbled them hungrily. More gimme, they shouted. Me yum! That gave Angel an idea. She headed east towards Billings, luring the desperados with biscuits. Those greedy good-for-nothings followed her clear across Montana. But as they chomped on the biscuits, their teeth began to break off. The more they munched, the more teeth fell, heaping up a jagged ridge on the ground below. Those hills are still called the Sawtooth Range. Angel had just about run out of biscuits, and the men had run out of teeth when they reached Billings and the single-star, double-barred, triple-guard jail. Raise the roof, Dust Devil, says Angel. Then she set the last biscuit down on the table, and the desperados sailed in after it. Wake up and lock the door, Sheriff, she shouted, while Dust Devil clapped the roof back on. When the flying desperados realized they were in jail, they opened their toothless mouths and bawled like babies. Bart only laughed. Door the saw, he ordered, and the desperados commenced to saw the door with their mosquitoes. But, quick as stingers bored through, Dust Devil hammered them down like bent nails. Bart knew he was beat. With Bart and his biting bandits behind bars, Angel returned to her ranch and tried to settle down. But every now and then, Dust Devil got the wild jigger shanks and bolted from his corral. Sometimes he'd shave a cornfield bolder than a parson before Angel could stop him. To this day in Montana, when a dust cloud whirls out of nowhere with a wind that bellows like a horse, folks say that Dust Devil's broken loose again. Since Montana law made no provision for sentencing insects, Bart's mosquitoes were allowed to go free, but they had been steered badly so long they lost all sense of direction. As soon as those prodigious pests took to the air, they turned upside down and hit the ground drill end first, and got themselves into hot water. You can still see the geysers this gave rise to anytime you visit Montana. Now you may think that backward Bart and his flying desperados never again set folks on the run, but facts are otherwise. It seems that when the desperados dropped their teeth, the gold fillings rolled out into mountain springs and washed downstream all the way to California. Eventually settlers discovered those nuggets and started a stampede, but that's another story.
The end. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching Old Tucson's Western Tale. If you have a Western tale that you want us to bring to life, comment below or send us a message. In the meantime, stay safe and healthy, curl up with your favorite book, and come join us again someday soon at Old Tucson, where the spirit of the Old West comes alive.